not all life insurance are made equal. We have on one hand the permanent life insurance policy, like your whole life, your index universal life policy. On the other hand, we have your term life insurance policy, your accidental death benefit, or we call non-permanent life insurance policies. Now, let's talk about our non-permanent life insurance policy for a second here. When it comes to the non-permanent policies, if we're thinking about a term life insurance, which is a great option, first of all, stay away from anyone telling you one is better than the other. It's about what it is used for, of course. So now, what is a term policy used for? It is a temporary coverage. Now, when you're thinking about getting something for a temporary time period, there is also the factor of what do you want it to do as you get closer to the end of that time period. Now, most term policies are from between a year to 30. Some companies go up to even 40 years of a temporary coverage. So it covers you for that time period. Death benefit, let's say $1 million death benefit will, if you pass during those years, that will go to your family or your beneficiary of choice. Now, when deciding what company to go with, first you must decide, is this for business or is it for personal, right? If it is for business, then most businesses will not need what we call the conversion option, right? They will not need the policy to be able to change to a permanent policy in the future or at the end of the policy life. Where if it's for personal, well, generally we're still going to need at least the funeral to be covered or some kind of death benefit to be paid out even after the term period does end. Now, one thing to keep in mind when getting life insurance is your contestability period, right? Now, what is contestability period? The contestability period is the first 2 years that a policy is written. The first 2 years is that time period where the insurance company can actually come back and now contest or investigate and deny your claim based on misrepresentation on the application. So meaning if we lied on our application about something or we just omitted some information, we didn't put down that we had asthma, we didn't put down we have sleep apnea, we didn't put down we have diabetes, and you have a lot of insurance companies that no questions asked, they gave you the policy, and then of course you pass during that time period, they can come back and do that investigation, find out that was not instated, and now you never qualified for the policy in the first place, so they deny the claim. And in some cases, they'll give your loved ones basically the money you paid into it, which is pointless because that's not the point of you getting the insurance, right? You could have just got a savings account at that point. Now, that's a whole nother rant. I can go on there, but just remember the contestability period is that first 2 years the insurance company can deny your claim for misrepresentation. That's the key word there, for misrepresentation. A lot of people is scared, and a lot of agents makes the contestability period sound very scary. It is not that scary. Don't lie, right? Make sure we're upfront and we're actually providing all the information that the insurance company needs up front, so there is no misrepresentation. If there's nothing to contest, they have to pay out the claim, guys. So they have to find a reason to deny your claim and find a reason for something that you lied about. If there was nothing that was misrepresented, then there's nothing for them to deny your claim over. So with that being said, in those cases, the best ones are the insurance companies that do an investigation and ask you all the questions you don't want to answer, right? Because at least they agreed to everything that they found. So now they feel comfortable not doing an investigation at the end of if you pass away in an accident, right? Let's say you get in a car accident, the first 2 years of policy is written, then the insurance company, well, they know they did an investigation. So a lot of times they will not do that hard of an investigation, just making sure it's an accident and that's it, right? So With that being said, guys, contestability period is super important. Now, when it comes to a term policy, why is it important? Well, a lot of term policies, as I said, if it's for personal, we want it to be able to convert into a permanent policy, or what we call the conversion period. Conversion feature now is when the term policy is either at the end of the life or anywhere in between, depending on the policy rules, you can convert it either on or before that time, that limit that they set on the conversion. Some go all the way to the end of the life of the policy, i.e. the 30 years, the 40 years, or whatever the policy is written for. And some go a few years before the end of the policy, and then you can convert it into a permanent policy like a whole life, a universal life policy, or anything of the sort. Now, why would you want to do that? The reason for doing that is, of course, so the death benefit will last your entire life. Let's say we are 70, now we want to make sure, well, we might live to 90 years old, so we want to at least our funeral costs covered, or maybe we want, we got the temporary coverage when we first started getting insurance because that's what budget could afford, but we much rather the permanent coverage because we want to guarantee our family has 500,000, a million, or whatever. Now we're at a higher paying, position, or making more revenue, so we can put that extra funds into getting a $500,000 permanent policy, right? So there's many reasons but you would want to get a conversion feature in a term policy. Most of them are personal. If we're talking business, then most business opt to get just temporary coverage, nothing with a conversion feature because it is a temporary situation. We're not going to work all of our lives. Maybe it's for a buy-sell agreement. Maybe it's for just a project, a construction project going on, and we want to protect everyone that's working on with a group policy, or we just want to protect certain key employees. God forbid something does happen on that construction site, right? Which would be now, let's say 5 years, 10 years, or any kind of things like that. That's where a straight temporary coverage will come into play without any conversion needed. And the reason why we would do that, of course, the cost of the coverage will be cheaper. Those companies, they only sell term. They don't have to worry about writing risk in other areas, so they have less fees, and their coverages are a lot cheaper because it's just a term policy. Now, as I said, the contestability period is something to remember. If we get a coverage that cannot be converted into something else, we will have to get additional coverage or write a new policy at the end of that policy term period. So now we start a whole new contestability period over, of course, or we may just not qualify for the insurance because our health has changed. So there's a lot of things to consider. When we convert the policy, however, we don't have to worry about our health condition because it is a guaranteed conversion. It is based on our original health, right? If our health has changed, they won't take that into consideration. The only thing they will take into consideration is the age change. So of course they're going to charge you the rate that you should be paying with the previous health risk rating, but the new age that you have attained, right? Now, with that being said, the conversion is guaranteed, no questions asked, and the contestability period does not reset. It does not start over. It is from the original time, the first 2 years of your original policy. So something to note there. Now, if you do get extra coverage, sometimes you can up the coverage on a conversion, or maybe add a rider like an accidental death benefit or a long-term care rider. Those will have to be reviewed, underwritten, see if you qualify for that. And those specific riders or the extra difference between the policy, if you up the coverage, that would actually go on that contestability period of 2 years, but not the full policy amount. So some important things to remember, guys. If you are looking for temporary coverage, these are some important things to remember. These are some important things to discuss with your agent, discuss with your family. Of course, guys, make the wise decision, ask questions, talk to the right agent. I hope this helps. Leave any kind of comments down below, questions that you guys have, any topics you want me to discuss next. Until next time, go out there, be safe.